figure anything out, you guys? The fucking developers behind the Callisto Protocol, because I played that game for 12 hours this weekend and it fucking rocked my world. So here's the thing.
In a bad way.
Dude, I'm fighting with this because like I played the first 4 hours and I was like, this is abysmal. Like, how did they fuck this up so much? Mm-hmm. But when I left and I went and did whatever I had to do, I was like, the whole time I was like, I need to go back and play that game. Even right now, I'm like, I wish there was more to play. I don't know why.
Sounds like an addiction.
That's what I'm saying. This is a fascinating misfire on all fronts, but I kind of like it.
I'm so interested. Why? Like,
So,
what made it?
Here's the good. The graphics are absolutely impeccable. The fidelity, the facial animations, that is next gen. That moves the needle for sure. It is insane the amount of detail. I'm playing this on a 4K monitor with a 3080 and a 13700K, if just for clarity's sake.
For all you gearheads
out there. And it looks incredible.
Yeah.
That being said, the PC performance was awful because the rumor is they uploaded the wrong fucking build to Steam at launch. So then they uploaded the right build.
Are you kidding?
And then there was still a 65 gigabyte patch that came out to fix all the bugs. And even then, it still doesn't run 4K 60 on my PC.
I just Googled Callisto Protocol, and I'm just like looking at images, and I clicked on one that's an article, and the name of the title of the article is Callisto Protocol launches the most negative Steam reviews because it's a stuttering nightmare.
Yeah.
What? How big was the game? Do you remember? Like 100,
like 40 gigs.
The game itself was 40 gigs and it was a 65 gig patch.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like I said,
Christ.
I think they uploaded the wrong version.
They literally did.
So, Josh Duhamel and Karen Fukuhara, who plays, God, what's her name on The Boys? The silent Asian woman.
Yeah, I don't remember. Mon coeur. It's
Yes.
just what the dude calls her all the time.
Yeah. Her. They're the leads in this, and they're fucking great. They're awesome. As a matter of fact, I kind of got into their characters. But I know that there's absolutely no character. I know nothing about these people outside of the immediate situation.
Well, that's kind of all you need for it, right?
I guess. But I also just came off of God of War.
Well, you're talking about the paramount of
I get that.
narrative.
I get that. And a lot of people were like, you shouldn't compare it to the best game ever. I was like, why don't we compare things to the gold standard? We get better shit then. Mm-hmm. So, Sam Witwer is also in this game. He played Deacon St. John in Days Gone, and he's also played Starkiller in Force Unleashed. He is incredible in this game. He is in 2 scenes.
That's it?
Yep.
Ugh.
And the last scene that he's in, they augment his voice. So it doesn't even matter. The combat system. This is the shit that gets me. So, like I said, the graphics, all that shit's good. I like the atmosphere. I like the environment. I like the level design artistically. I don't like the level design functionally. Because it literally is a straight path.
It's a line, yeah.
It's not like, you go upstairs and you make left turns and you unlock this door, but it's not like you're exploring a prison in space. It's like you got to get from one end to the other and get out.
Are there any benefits for are there things to look around and
kind of, but the most is you unlock a door, get into a vent, get the thing, and when you get the gubbin you were going to get, it unlocks a door in that room and puts you right back where you were, so you can just continue on with your journey.
Yeah, just here, and then you do a little maze kind of thing, and then we're like, oh, okay, and now we're there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the most it gets as far as creative level design is. There are no puzzles. There are no collectibles.
No puzzles. I like the no collectibles.
I 100% of God of War, so I can't.
No, I get that, but
I can't.
I will never get every Korok seed in Breath of the Wild.
Hey, Pat, I'm sending you something on Discord.
Ooh. Okay. So that was that's the good. What was with the combat? Because from watching it, it looked like glorified QuickTime events.
Okay, so let me get a controller because it's the only way I'll be able to describe what's going on here.
Pat, which one of the 15 controllers in this room would you like to use?
So, the controller for this was the controller I played on. I played on a fucking Xbox Series X controller. Okay,
Not sponsored.
not sponsored. And so here, this is your regular like movement, right? Obviously, like regular third person. When it comes to combat, you get locked, engaged with that person, lock in step. They swing at you, and you have to hit left, and then your character just dodges.
It's like
and
Punch
then when
Out.
they swing the other way, you have to hit right, and then you swing that way. And then if they swing again, you have to hit the other way. And then as soon as they stop swinging, you hit this button 4 times to get 4 whacks on them.
And
Or
then
if
you
you
get
have the fucking heavy attack, you hit them once with this and it sends them flying back.
Then you get your gun.
Then you get the precision shot. Then you hit left trigger, then right trigger to shoot them. And you do that the entire game.
How early on did that get tedious and boring?
As soon as there was more than one enemy.
Okay, so with that, like, remember in Assassin's
you
Creed where
can't-
you can, like, jump to, like, other people
Okay,
like
but
that?
was the thing is that in Assassin's Creed, they built a pair-based combat system where everybody waits until you're finished with the one dude and then you fight the next guy. If somebody else attacks you, you can either counter them or parry them and throw them away and continue with the guy that you were fighting.
Yeah.
An actual combat system.
Right.
Whereas this has decided to lock you in a one-on-one engagement while there are multiple enemies around.
Yeah, I saw when
So,
you were
like-
playing, you got, like, fucking decked in the back of the head amount. Like, because
A bunch.
you can't turn.
Because you can't turn. You can't literally dodge out of the way of someone. It's like a half-baked like combat system. And then not only that, like you do the dodge dance and then you do the melee. When it comes to the precision shot, no more iframes. So you can just get cracked by somebody who's right next to you. There's no quick turn, and for whatever reason, the running seems to just work when it feels like it. As far as like the material, like if you're walking through water or something, you can't run. If you're walking on like shit left over from these creatures, you can't run. But on regular floors, you can run. But you can't see your own fucking feet, so you don't
Right.
know what the fuck is there. Also, I realized you can't tell the difference because your footsteps sound everything on any surface the
metal,
entire
like-
fucking game. So you can't tell what you're walking on. Is like,
Yeah.
and these are things you don't think about in game design until you don't get them. You know what I mean?
Because you're sitting there like, why the fuck can't I run? I'm getting killed right now.
Exactly. And like there was some things where like for instance, in the final boss battle, there's these ledges that you can use as cover and you can slide over the top of them, right? I had to face like hips need to be locked forward into that fucking barrier to jump over because you can't just corner it. You can't
Yeah.
just slide it. Like you have to and then hit the button and he does it. It's like, what is this? Like, what are these controls? What is this combat system? Like I said, it is the most baffling designed game I've ever played in my life.
Okay, so
It's the same way I feel about. It's the same way I feel about new metal.
yeah.
I love it. It fucking sucks. like,
I hate
it's the
you.
same way I feel
love
about
you.
Callisto Protocol. Is that I love it. It fucking sucks because I love the aesthetic. I love the guys behind it. They made the first 3 Dead Space games and they got fucked over by EA. And this was their chance to, to their credit, they tried to do something different and didn't stick the landing. I would rather a major swing and a miss
Than just Dead Space
just
4.
like yeah, exactly, because we're getting a Dead Space remake
Exactly.
in a few weeks.
Yeah.
You know? So, I knew there was going to be problems for this though when there was no reviews out
That night or whatever
that
before.
the day of, and the fact that nobody was streaming it. There was no big previews. And most importantly, which was kind of the most fucked up part, they put this in the last month of the calendar year for them. This was their, this had to come out in the fiscal year 2022. So it's not like they could push this back anymore. I just don't know what happened, And it's one of those things where it's like, well, did the real people who made Dead Space just go somewhere else and these guys were just the brains behind it, or
Right.
you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things, but no, like the majority of the people that made Dead Space, even down to like QA testers, were a part of this team that
Yeah.
made this game.
So how like was the intention with the combat to be fully combative? Was there like sneaking? Was there like trap kind of things you could do?
I've heard people say this game is survival horror, but I've also heard that this game was marketed as action horror.
Because that's if it's survival.
But that's also what I said, that it doesn't commit either way. Where I feel like Resident Evil, there's a balance of both. Where like sometimes there's big swings where like in Resident Evil 8, there was the baby section.
Yeah.
And then there was the Chris section where it's basically Call of Duty for the last, like, I don't know, 10 minutes of the game before you switch back over. Like, that's a balance of action and horror. But that entire time, you're riding a line of, I have just enough ammo to kill all the guys in front of me. You know what I mean? Whereas this, I never was out of ammo. Never out of ammo. I was always out of inventory space because I had so much shit in there. And I felt neutered by the melee system, which is what they put forward for you to use first. So at a certain point, once I got like upgraded guns and everything, I just turned it into a third-person shooter, and then I realized this sucks as a third-person shooter too. So it's like it's not even like good gunplay. Also, the checkpoint system is fucking broken, like to the point where I died once and it reloaded, and I was like, "Is my game file corrupt?" Because I went back a whole 11 minutes.
Oh my God.
Of gameplay. Then the second thing that happened was I died and I went out into battle and I was like, why am I not doing the move I just bought? Because they didn't put a checkpoint after the fucking upgrade store.
God,
so you checkpoint, upgrade your weapons, go into battle, fucking die, and then run back out there again and you're even weaker.
So you have to watch like the cutscene of upgrading the weapon.
That's the other thing too. Yes. And you have to watch the up scene. The
up scene.
The cut. I am is
cut
up scene. You have to watch the cutscene, every death animation over and over again. There's no. The last boss, I watched fucking Josh Duhamel get fucking rammed through with a bone knife, and then his legs twisted all the way around and pulled apart and thrown by a giant monster.
Like, that's
like at least 25 times I saw that.
That's the whole thing with like the brutality of it is all of it's like look at the brutal death animations. Like that's a big selling point of that and like all the Dead Space kind of things. But yeah, I think halfway through the game you should have an option to be like quick death.
Yeah, but it's also like what's the point of the stomp mechanic anymore? Like we did that 10 years ago.
There's no reason for that.
If the enemies die, give me the govens. You know what I mean? Like, I put the work in. I shouldn't have to walk over and stomp a motherfucker. The telekinesis has absolutely no utilization other than combat.
Yeah.
But combat is so broken that it does... Like, I forgot I even had it. Because all you can do is pick up enemies and throw them. Or you can pick up a pipe on the ground and pin someone to a wall. Or you can pick up like a fucking like a red exploding barrel and throw it. Mm-hmm. But I never used it because it was just fucking like when you in Dead Space you have guns, you have the one melee to get everyone off you, and then you have the telekinesis. So you're forced to use telekinesis and the guns creatively, and you have to dismember the enemies. You have to literally cut their limbs off. That's why they give you like the line gun or the plasma cutter. You know, things with horizontal or vertical lines, or the buzzsaw gun. So there's interesting gameplay always going on. This is like, shoot them wherever. Yeah. Can you get a shot off? Then take it.
Right. Like do as much damage as you can.
Also, they designed this whole combat system, and it worked fair enough. But by the halfway point, when they introduced the stealth sections, which by the way, the stealth sucks too, it falls apart. There's one section where it was actually kind of cool, and there was some tension where I'm walking through like this dumpster area and I have to crouch, and there's all these like, they basically stole the clickers from Last of Us, and there are a bunch of guys who are blind, but they're really dangerous. They'll fuck you up in one go.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can either stealth all these guys with the worst stealth ever and like stab them all in the back, and which by the way,
that kills them?
Yeah. One stab in the back kills them.
Instead of blowing off their head with a gun?
The stab button is A. Y. It's always Y. Like, stealth kills are always Y or triangle.
Why
what the fuck is going on? So, I'm going through the whole fucking...
Are you hitting Y?
No, I was like trying to hit like... and that's the other thing, too. It's the loudest stab animation I've seen in my life, and yet now these guys are like nobody. So, I instead just decided to stealth my way through, and I would like hide in this thing and walk my way through, and all of a sudden, and then out of nowhere, one just comes over the hill, and there's nowhere for me to go, So you're going to get caught.
Yeah.
Like you're going. So if you there is no way for you to decide how to play this section because you're going to get caught. Which means if you left 6 enemies behind you, you better get ready to fucking run if you can run. And number 2, that means that when you die, because you will die,
you have to do the whole
you
thing.
have to kill those enemies. So luckily for me, the guy came over the hill and I just was like, fuck it. And I ran past him and ran straight for the door. And it did one of those things where I got to, there's so many fucking squeeze through this thing for a loading screen. So it's like an obscene amount. I got to that point. I was like, oh, cool. Another fucking loading screen, right? And of course, these guys are like clipping through the rocks trying to get me. One actually grabbed my foot and tried to pull me out. And then he crawled like,
oh, that's kind of cool.
So like but that's the thing is like little things like that.
Yeah.
All the jump scares are awful. All of it's bad. And then, God, the combat system, man. The combats are really fucked me up. Because even if it was like a mid story, if the combat was good, the gameplay was fun, Evil West.
Yeah.
Mid, but the combat is fun. So I'm having a good time. This is just, wow.
Pick your lane.
Yeah. And you didn't even know what happens at the end of the story because there's a season pass planned for a single player game. So it's like they told half of a story. They give you the plot revelation and then...
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that ending is abrupt. I mean, like, I didn't even know I was entering the final boss fight until I got to the door. I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? Okay.
Yeah, it's like you have finished the early access. Come back.
And
for
then
like...
they give you... And then there's no New Game Plus yet, so you can't even use all your upgrades and go back. New Game Plus is coming in a patch. To be fair, so is God of Wars, so...
Yeah, but so you're just basically waiting until you can pay more money and get part
patch,
2.
So.
No, part 2 of the story.
But I think that came with whatever version I bought. So.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought this was going to be good. So.
You shelled out the money.
That being said, I don't hate it.
What would you give it a 1 to 10?
Like a 5
out
of 10.
Sure.
I would give Evil West like a 6.5 out of 10, and I would give this like a 5.
And would you recommend any other people play it?
I think if you like the Dead Space games, give it a go. Because there was a lot of... It was... I don't know how to describe it. Because like I kept playing. I did 12 hours of a game that supposedly sucked.
Right.
Like I know via like what I know about game design and everything and like what I felt in the moment, the frustrations. Like there's so much potential that like I don't want to be out here being like this game was trash. Because it sold really well and they're probably going to get a sequel. So instead of being like, this is a piece of shit I don't want one anymore, instead what I want to say is I didn't love this game. However, I think there's a lot of potential for a sequel to be a whole lot better.
Really cool.
So like maybe instead of trying these really weird and experimental routes, let's go with something more conventional that we know that works and we'll have a good time with. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's too much of an ask,
No, I think it's fair.
So, I mean,